And just like that, we are live. We are back for a WWE Clash in Paris post-show here on Wrestle News 365. How's everybody doing? Hope you're all doing good. WWE Clash in Paris has just gone off the air live from the La Défense Arena in Paris. And, we got a lot to talk about indeed. It was a noteworthy show, a bit more of a noteworthy show than I probably thought it was going to be. Of course, it's the last show. Last PLE, main roster PLE, that's going to be taking place on Peacock, of course, from next month's WWE WrestlePalooza. All main roster WWE PLEs are taking place streaming on ESPN. Only special Saturday night's main events, and on top of that, NXT PLEs are going to be streaming on Peacock. And it's led to a lot of people thinking, is that going to cost a lot of money? It could. You never know. And some people are saying, I want to stick to watching things on Netflix. Well, you can do so if you are in the United States. All you got to do is get a VPN. You can get one right there. Scan the QR code. Click the link in the video description below. You can also find it pinned in the live chat. And you can get NordVPN. You can get up to 73% off. 3 months extra as well, protecting all your devices. And then you can change your location and watch all of WWE shows, including Raw, SmackDown, NXT PLEs, archive shows on Netflix in one perfect package. Now, this was an interesting show because this was a show in Clash in Paris that for maybe about half of it, 2/3 of it, was a show that was a glorified episode of WWE Monday Night Raw. It was a show that featured some matches that would not be out of place on Raw or SmackDown in terms of quality. And if it wasn't for a great and unbelievable Paris crowd, you'd say, this is a bit of a dud. But then, in the final 3 matches of this show, you had you had 2 of the best matches that you will see all year for WWE. You had some fantastic matches in the form of Rusev versus Sheamus in the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. Then you had John Cena defying himself, really. John Cena had said at several points, I've only got so much left in me. This is my limit. I can't do much more. And in John Cena's last 2 PLE matches, in SummerSlam against Cody Rhodes and this evening against Logan Paul has proved that's not true, because John Cena still has it. John Cena went full 2015 John Cena and was spamming the controller and hitting every single possible move you can think of, and he delivered an absolutely brilliant performance against Logan Paul. And then we had a main event which was, I get why they put it on last. It's the World Championship. I get why they put it on last with the angle that they had. Becky Lynch is the brand new member of the Vision. And we've got one of the most powerful heel, relationships on WWE TV, and the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins and the Women's Intercontinental Champion Becky Lynch joining forces along with Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker. Oh, that's a powerful faction right there. I get why they put it on last. But the poor crowd in Paris, who had been brilliant all night, with chants, with atmosphere, over 30,000 of them in the largest indoor arena in Europe. Terrific atmosphere, terrific noise, into everything. They were just tired. They were gassed out. They were like, I can't follow John Cena's match against Logan Paul, his final match in Europe. And they were just tired. I mean, there was nothing against Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight, or Becky Lynch joining the Vision. It's a big angle. It's noteworthy. It's newsworthy. But it's late over there. It's an hour ahead of me, and it's 11 o'clock. So for them, it's midnight. It's midnight, and the show's just finished. And they're like, we got homes to go to. We got lives to go to. They might have work tomorrow. September 1st, start of the new month. So they were just tired at that point, and they weren't really reacting to much in that main event, but it certainly was noteworthy and newsworthy. And of course, as is always the way with these post shows, guys, if you're watching this post show for the first time and you're wondering why don't you go through in chronological order, we always begin with how the show went off the air. That's the big story. That's the story that WWE wants us to talk about anyway, isn't it? Certainly, that's why it goes off the air with that big of a match and a big of a moment. And we ended with the World Heavyweight Championship, and Seth Rollins, you can see right there, was talking to Jackie Redmond before this match started. And the reason why there he looked pretty nervous and pretty shook is because he had no Paul Heyman. He had no Bron Breakker. He had no Bronson Reed. Earlier on in the evening, Paul Heyman, he'd been sent to the hospital by Roman Reigns. Reigns had choked him out with a guillotine. Then, after that match, involving Roman Reigns and involving Bronson Reed, he was attacked, Roman Reigns, by Bron Breakker, by Bronson Reed. Multiple spears by Breakker, multiple tsunamis. Reigns was stretchered out. And even whilst he was on the stretcher, more tsunamis. And squished him like a bug. He had to scrape him off the Paris canvas. And because of that, Raw General Manager Adam Pearce was furious. And he said to both Reed and Breakker, you have to leave this building right now. And if you enter the building at any point, you will be suspended indefinitely without pay. That meant going into this main event that Rollins had no Heyman, he had no Breakker, he had no Reed. He was all by himself. But as he said in this interview with Jackie Redmond, he said, I can do things by myself. He told a truth and a lie. The lie was, I can do things by myself. That was the lie. But he also told the truth, in which he said, I'm always 2 steps ahead. And indeed, he was 2 steps ahead because he already had somebody in mind that was going to help him retain the World Heavyweight Championship despite him not having the numbers advantage. And that was his wife, Becky Lynch. Now, Jey Uso, he had injured ribs because he came out to save his cousin Roman Reigns in the opening match of the show. He took his sweet time in doing it because if I'm Roman Reigns, I'm pretty pissed with Jey Uso. I'm like, thanks for coming out to save me. That's great. You could have maybe done it sort of earlier on, sort of kind of straight away-ish as opposed to when I was strapped to a stretcher. But he came out nevertheless and he was attacked by the Vision as well. So he had injured ribs, which at different points he decided he was going to sell or not. He would kind of changed his mind, I felt like, at different points that he was going to to sell the rib injury. So that was playing out throughout the match. And like I said, the match itself was fine. It was fine. The match itself was fine. The issue that it had was that it goes on like nearly at 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., and this show started for them in Paris at 8 p.m. So they were tired by that point, and it was getting late. On top of that, you had to follow John Cena in his final match in Europe, which is momentous anyway, but then you had to also follow a brilliant John Cena performance. The match between John Cena and Logan Paul, as I mentioned, it had everything. Absolutely everything. And we're going to be talking about that in detail later on. So you had a crowd of over 30,000 people trying to get into it, doing the chants, but, largely sitting on their hands, feeling tired. You can tell as someone watching any pro wrestling show when the crowd are kind of like, look, out of respect here, out of respect, we're cheering and we're participating, but let's just get to the finish. Let's just get to the finish. Let's wrap this up. We want to go home. But I do also, like I said, I do understand the WWE's decision here because this is storyline driven, isn't it? They want to go off the air with a big, momentous angle. They want to go off the air with people talking. Becky Lynch joining the Vision. That's a big moment. Becky Lynch is a big star. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are up there, the power couple of WWE. One's the World Heavyweight Champion, one's the Women's Intercontinental Champion. It's, you would think, going to be one of the first Paul Heyman women in WWE. Obviously in pro wrestling, you've got the likes of Medusa, who's been a very staunch Paul Heyman girl in the past. It's not the first, but certainly in WWE, the first Paul Heyman girl is Becky Lynch as part of the Vision faction. That's a big moment. That's a big moment. That's a big development in this faction. And it's going to be another way that this storyline is going to go. So I can understand why they would want to put that on last, because you want to end the show on a big angle and have people talking and have people discussing and what have you. The issue was just that by that point the crowd just didn't really care that much. They did kind of react to Becky Lynch-ish. I think everybody knew that Seth Rollins was going to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. He's only just won it. I don't think anyone was anticipating a title change, and it was also one of those ones whereby everyone knew that there was going to be some kind of new member of the Vision tonight, because it was set up that way, wasn't it? It was set up that way of, while all of the members are away from ringside, Rollins is going to retain somehow. I'm always 2 steps ahead. They pretty much bashed us over the head with, there's going to be a new member of the Vision tonight. There's going to be a new member of the Vision tonight. If you thought this was unexpected, I would be saying you must be new to pro wrestling, right? You must be new. So, but I like the decision. I do like the decision to add Becky Lynch to the faction. I do think that works. I do think that it adds a different dynamic to this. I pitched quite a while ago. You can probably find the video up on the channel. It might have even been when the faction first came together, right after WrestleMania. I did do a video saying sort of new members of the Vision, and I think one of them was Bronson Reed as well. as well. Get me in the booking chair, Paul Levesque. And one was Becky Lynch. Now, they have been paired together on WWE TV before. They have been paired together right after, actually. Rollins won the Universal Championship at WrestleMania 35, and Becky Lynch had won the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania 35. That was in MetLife Stadium. And they didn't like it at the time. They'd only really just been, outed as a couple, if you will. And they did the whole thing of like the man's man. That was Rollins was the man's man, not like William Regal of he's a man. It wasn't that. You get my point. He was the man's man, and they didn't like it because they would only really just got into the main event scene as babyface champions, and they kind of wanted to do their own thing, and again it just didn't work. And that match they had, it was a mixed tag with both championships on the line, and it was Rollins and Lynch feuding with Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans at the time. I mean, we were in the trenches at that point. If you were watching WWE in just around those years, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and early 2022, before Vince McMahon retired, God, the creative was bad at that point. It was so bad. so bad. And they didn't like it, and it wasn't well received. This is different. Look, they're both playing heels. They're both far more comfortable being in main event positions and far more comfortable being in, top championship positions. And I do think it kind of breathes new life into Becky Lynch, who's been having great matches. She didn't tonight with Nikki Bella. We'll talk about that later on. But I think it adds a different dynamic to the Vision. And, if you're CM Punk, you can feud with Seth Rollins, but this feud with Rollins still is going on ridiculously too long. But, it's a different dynamic to that. CM Punk's got to find a partner. CM Punk's got to find a partner, because he can't wrestle Becky Lynch, can he? So CM Punk's got to find himself a female partner. And I just wonder, does CM Punk know any women in particular that are wrestlers? I wonder, is this where, and Robert Johnson says it here in the chat, is this where you say enter AJ Lee? Is this finally where AJ Lee makes her return to WWE? AJ Lee has been retired from professional wrestling for a decade. Last time she wrestled was at WrestleMania 31, I believe it was, in 2015, in a tag team match. She teamed up with Paige against, I think it's the Bellas, in that match. So maybe they are building to a mixed tag. Now, when that would be, maybe that would be at WrestlePalooza next month. They're clearly loading up that show. They want that show to be big for many reasons. Obviously, it's the first PLE on ESPN, so they're going big. They're also going up against AEW All Out on the same night, so they want to crush AEW, which they will do anyway. I mean, you're main eventing your first PLE on ESPN with Brock and Cena. Frankly, you don't need anything else, but they'll load up that show even more. So, did they do an AJ return match then? Maybe it's a bit too soon. Maybe you can do that Survivor Series. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm looking at this, even if it's like, because Darren says there, is she a member or is she just helping her husband? Maybe both, I don't know, but it feels like it could be a situation. at this stage, you would go, surely they're building to AJ Lee coming back. Surely they're building to that at this point, right? If it feels inevitable that that's what they're building towards there. So Becky Lynch, whether she is or isn't a new member of the Vision, I'm leaning towards she is, because they're going to have, an explanation angle or segment on Raw tomorrow, which is in France. We'll be doing a live watch along. So you feel like that's probably where they're going with that, and well, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed will be back by that point, because they were just away from the arena for the main event tonight, so they weren't written off TV. Whether Heyman appears on Raw tomorrow, I suppose that's worth questioning, because he was in the hospital, but it was just a choke as opposed to actually taking a bump. So I think he'll probably be on Raw. He'll probably have a giant, neck brace around him. So I lean towards her being a member of the Vision, because I did kind of think after the Nikki Bella stuff tonight, I was kind of like, well, what's really, who else is Becky Lynch gonna face on Raw, and what's next for her character? Obviously, Bayley's undergoing a bit of a metamorphosis, so that's something to consider. But yeah, I'm not sure. But Rollins retains. Becky Lynch helps. I thought we were going to get another member of the Vision that was going to be either like Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, Tony D'Angelo, who seemingly is in France. Sean Ross Sapp did post during the show that Tony D'Angelo posted something on his Instagram which said he was in Paris, which feels like something probably WWE told him to do. WWE said, post this, because it makes people think. Because if it was him and he was going to be that member, he wouldn't post because he would get so much shit for doing it. So that feels probably like an intentional ploy. Tom says in the chat, I think she's a member now because there's way too many question marks about what's next for her. Otherwise, like you say, I think so too. If you haven't already, click the like button, folks. We've got 50 people watching. We're on 32 likes. See if we can get to 50 likes. Also, be sure to subscribe, as you can see right there in the bottom right-hand corner. We're on our road to 25K in 2025. That is our goal for this year. And we've got, September tomorrow. So what's that? About 3 months left? 3 months left to get to 25K in 2025. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Initially, it was the goal to get to 20K in 2025, let alone 25. So yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. If you're watching after the fact, be sure to subscribe. And we do a lot of watch-alongs, post-shows, news videos, countdown videos. A new series has just dropped here on the channel called 365 Deep Dive, where we focus on one subject, give you a bit of a timeline. First episode of that dropped yesterday, which is the Vince McMahon WWE Return Master Plan, possibly being revealed. If you want to know more, check out that video. Let's get into the rest of the show. The show kicked off with Roman Reigns versus Big Bronson Reed. Now, this was a glorified TV match. Roman Reigns, in my opinion, is at this point in his career right now, and he was like this as Universal Champion, but where he is very much in less is more. Roman Reigns is the epitome of less is more. This crowd was so red hot to open the show that Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed had a match where effectively, how long did the match go on for? It went on for 22 minutes. 22 minutes and 5 seconds. And the first 3 minutes, I'm pretty sure they didn't touch. Or if they did, very little, yeah? They did not do much in this match. Roman Reigns is the king of not doing much, but the crowd were going crazy because they love Roman Reigns. So, it was right hands, get big cheers. Bronson Reed has a lot of the offense, a lot of rest holds and rest spots. Roman Reigns is taking time off to film Street Fighter soon in Australia. He's not going to take any crazy risks or crazy bumps. It's going to be very, very safe, and that's what we saw. And in the end, Roman Reigns gets the victory with a spear, as would be expected, and gets the 1, 2, 3. After the match, he sees Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's got the Shula Fala, which is Roman Reigns' sneakers, that Bronson Reed has stolen. He gets them off Paul Heyman, and Heyman's groveling, says, I'm sorry. and Roman Reigns chokes him out. And interesting, couldn't have been, Heyman will take a bump if he needs to, but he didn't need to tonight, again, because I think he's going to be on Raw tomorrow. So he gets choked out, and then Reigns is going to be signing off his sneakers, throwing them into the crowd, and as he's doing that, that's really what we got. We got we had a match, and then we had a post-match angle. The post-match angle was better than the match, and way more longer and significant, frankly. The first hour of this PLE was all around Roman Reigns, and it was a 20-minute match. So think how long the post-match angle was. Reigns gets speared through the announce table by Bron Breakker, and then basically we have the Vision just destroy Roman Reigns. We have multiple spears, spear outside the ring, rolled back inside the ring, tsunami by Bronson Reed. Then you have security and medical staff come out. Roman Reigns gets strapped to a stretcher, and we have tsunami again and again and again. Jey Uso finally, it's like someone caught him backstage, goes, Roman's getting the shit kicked out of him. He went, is he? And then ran to the ring. But he got taken out by Bron Breakker, and look, and the selling by Heyman there was ridiculous. Heyman was literally full on pantomiming as much as he could. But then the Vision take out Jey, which is why he got the bad ribs. And over and over and over again, tsunamis, spears, you name it, everything on Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns is taken out. And the reason Roman Reigns is taken out is because, well, for two reasons. One, he's on a part-time deal. He's got limited dates, and he's not going to come back for a while. Secondly, not only is he not going to come back for a while, but he's filming a movie. He's filming Street Fighter. And Street Fighter is being filmed in Australia. He's got a significant role in it. I forget the character that he is. But it's the same reason Cody Rhodes is off TV at the moment. Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion, he wasn't in Paris. He's in Australia. Cody Rhodes is in Australia filming his part for the Street Fighter film. Now, I think Cody Rhodes' part is either smaller or less significant. He's off TV for a few weeks. Cody Rhodes is going to be back in time for WrestlePalooza to face Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. But Cody Rhodes is off filming the movie in Australia, and Roman Reigns is going to be next. So Reigns is probably going to go from here, probably all the way to Australia, near enough straight away, you think, and start filming his scenes. And then for when we see him back, your guess is probably as good as mine. You think about the big events coming up, so he's not going to be on WrestlePalooza. Your mind turns to maybe Survivor Series. It's in San Diego, which is a big hotspot for the Anawahi family. California, obviously San Francisco is more the Anawahi hotspot, but California is a big state for them throughout their history. So we could come back for that. Maybe he's involved in War Games. Maybe by that point we have the Vision, and the Vision are in War Games, and you've got Punk, you've got Roman Reigns, you've got, maybe it's John Cena involved in War Games. I don't know. But maybe by that point you could have something like that. So I say minimum, we don't see him until probably November. If again this year, we might not see him again until the Royal Rumble and the build to the Rumble next year. I wouldn't even be shocked about that one either. But Roman Reigns written off TV. The match itself, like I said, was good opener. But the reason the good opener was because of the crowd. The match was, quite paint by numbers in terms of Roman Reigns in all honesty. We're 12 likes away from 50 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe to WrestleNews 365. We then move on to the Tag Team Championship match between the Wyatt Six and the Street Profits. This was meh. This was just a tag team match in all honesty. Probably the biggest thing to note out of this is that for the first time that I can think of, we started to see tension in the Street Profits. There were points at the beginning of the match where Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins were arguing about who starts. There were blind tags. You can see right there they were kind of like uncertain. So it looks like finally, we're building towards the Street Profits splitting up. And it really is 3 or 4 years overdue. I mean, it's been a long time coming, the Street Profits splitting up. WWE is leaving a lot of money on the table with not having Montez Ford be a singles talent in the upper mid-card or main event scene. The guy's really got it all. He's got it all. He can talk, he's got the look, he can work. I said it during the watch-along. Montez Ford is what WWE wants Jey Uso to be. Jey Uso has got a great entrance. He's got a catchphrase. The crowd like him. But then the bell rings or he has to cut a promo. Ask him to cut a promo without saying yeet. He can't do it. He has his matches. He does his uppercut slap things, and he'll do a spear. That's probably the worst spear I've ever seen. And an Uso splash. That's it. Maybe a hip attack in the corner. That's all he can do. Montez Ford, he can do unbelievable stuff in the ring. He's a freak athlete. He can talk. He's got catchphrases. He does this. The crowd love him. He's a future world champion. So my hope is that this is maybe the building to the Street Profits splitting, because there's nothing left for them to do. And will Dawkins suffer because of it? Yes, he will suffer because of it. Is he the Jannetty out of those two? Most likely. But sometimes it's time, isn't it? As far as the Wyatt 6, I have seen a lot of people sort of say it just doesn't really do it for them. And look, sometimes it's difficult to determine what they are in terms of heels or baby faces. The finish of this had Nikki Cross holding the foot of one of the Street Profits, and on the outside, Uncle Howdy hit Sister Abigail, I think, to Montez Ford. So I think they're heels. But it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm still not, I'm not massively sold on it. It's just it's difficult because when they had the entrance, and every time I hear the music and I see the fireflies, I had it on the watch along. I get goosebumps on my arms, and it makes me think about Bray Wyatt and how sad and tragic that whole story is, and it makes me think about the original Wyatt family of Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, and Bray Wyatt, and the fact that there's only 1/3 of them still with us. And obviously I know Braun Strowman's there, but that's I think about the original 3 of them, and it's unbelievable that's the timeline that we're in. Still, sometimes when you think about it, I can't even really comprehend it. But like Tom says there in the chat, it lacks the aura of the original Wyatt family, but it always was going to, because it was Bray made it special. It's the creation. This still here. This is still out of the mind of Bray Wyatt, and it's almost like a constant tribute to him. So I can't be too critical of that. But I don't know. I don't know. We then go on to the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. This match went 13 minutes, and I'm not gonna lie, folks, it was the shits. It really, really was. I know that obviously Nikki Bella's coming back, and she wants to have this run, and there is certainly name recognition with Nikki Bella, and is a well-known wrestler, celebrity, does have sort of mainstream appeal, but she's not a great worker. She's not an amazing worker. This match, they were really fortunate that the crowd was still going in this one. You know what I mean? The crowd was still going, and they were still in that territory of they're cheering anything. If this was a more judgy crowd, or a crowd that you really had to win them over, they would have struggled in this one. There was a spot in this match, or a botch in this match, that is very similar to the Jeff Hardy Jinder Mahal Whisper in the Wind from the Greatest Royal Rumble in 2018. And that the Greatest Royal Rumble in 2018 has 2 of the most infamous botches in WWE history. Obviously, one is Titus O'Neil running in the Greatest Royal Rumble when he trips up and he falls under the ring. It's, again, arguably the greatest botch of all time. It's up there with the Shockmaster. Like, it's like ST, like, it is top, right? And on that same show, you have Jeff Hardy go for a Whisper in the Wind. Missed. He just misses, and then Jinder Mahal falls over anyway. In this match, we had something similar. Nikki Bella goes for like a springboard enziguri. Becky Lynch is too far away, and then Becky Lynch just goes... It's one of the most ridiculous things you're ever going to see in your life, right? The match sucked. I don't wish to see it again. And fortunately for Becky Lynch, to be fair, that they're not going to remember her match on this show. They'll remember her at the end of the show for the post-match stuff for the involvement in the main event. Because if they remembered her for this match, they would be discussing about how not good it was. Because it wasn't good. It was not a good match at all. A good match. But at this point, there was concern, really, wasn't there? There was concern of like this PLE isn't good. You've got a great crowd, but the PLE isn't good. But then it really turned. It really turned here with Sheamus versus Rusev in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. And it just delivered. It's exactly what you expected on the tin, isn't it, really? Which is they beat the shit out of each other for 20 minutes. The bell rang, and they beat the hell out of each other. They had kendo sticks. They had shillelaghs. You have a spot towards the end of the match where, there was the good sort of the closing 5 minutes of this one. They had the crowd right there, palm of their hand settings, right? You had Sheamus. I mean, first of all, they do the white noise from these whiskey barrels that are stacked on top of each other. White noise through 2 tables at ringside. Unbelievable. Rolls him into the ring. And Sheamus, I mean, kicked the head off of Rusev. My goodness me. He hit a bro kick from hell. All right, and you thought that was over. Rusev kicks out. In the end, Rusev gets the victory, locks in the accolade with the shillelagh, and goes back, grapevines his body as well, and gets a 1, 2, 3. Sheamus at one point in the match went through the bar. That bar you can see right there, went through it. Sheamus, if you give it does, and obviously the stipulation in this made it more physical and violent. If you give Sheamus 10 plus minutes on a PLE, he will deliver. The catchphrase banger after banger after banger is not just a catchphrase. It is the most legitimate catchphrase I can possibly think of in WWE right now. How often does Sheamus get these kind of matches on PLEs? And every single time he delivers. This guy is going to go down, for me, as actually almost one of the most underrated WWE superstars of all time. But that's got unbelievable accolades. I mean, he's a multiple-time WWE and World Champion. He's won everything apart from the Intercontinental Championship, King of the Ring, Royal Rumble, Tag titles, US titles. Like, he's done it all, right? And it's just in this, part of his career, because when he was teaming with Cesaro, back in sort of 2016 to sort of 2019. He was teaming with Cesaro because they thought he had to retire. He had spinal stenosis in his neck, and they had to go in tags because they were like, we don't know how long he's going to be able to do it. He had a bad back, and then after that, he's had this literally renaissance, where he's just had these unbelievable, top-notch classics on pay-per-view or PLEs against Gunther, McIntyre, Rusev, you name it. He's just had these incredible matches, and he did it again tonight. And he didn't win. He doesn't need to win because he just keeps doing it. And they are the most physical, hard-hitting. They're probably the closest you're gonna get to kind of sort of strong style in WWE, where they're snug and they're physical, and he wants people to lay it in. He lays it in, and they're just top. And it was the right decision for Rusev to win tonight, because again, they're going to probably build him at some point maybe to a main event feud in the future. As long as Cody's a WWE champion, they're going to need heels for him to go up against. So you could see maybe in the future a Cody versus Rusev feud where Cody wins, but it's something to build to a pay-per-view for. But he just delivers, Sheamus. And I really do hope, before he calls it a career, that they give him that Intercontinental Championship. I know this is not what this match was about, but it's the only thing missing for him. It's the only thing missing for him is that IC title. And I really hope he gets it, because, my God, he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. And then you had, for me, match of the night. And then look, obviously you could argue Rusev Sheamus was match of the night. Fair. John Cena versus Logan Paul. Oh my God. I will get John Cena. This is why John Cena is arguably the greatest WWE superstar of all time. He has his final match in Europe this evening. And you saw earlier on, I mentioned between Roman Reigns, the crowd love him. They are so into him. And when you're that over with the audience, you don't need to work hard. You don't need to work hard. You get pops and reactions by doing right hands, by doing aura moments, by posing. But you have to do very, very little to get a reaction. And it's great because the crowd love you. And you don't have to take that many bumps. You don't have to. John Cena and this retirement tour is working. In the last 2 matches, he has worked so hard and delivered some absolute spectacle matches that I don't even think he thought he had left in him at this point. Right? John Cena went full 2015 John Cena. Well, 2015 was the year that some say was the best in-ring year of Cena's career. By that point, he'd been in so many big-time matches, and he was underrated as an in-ring performer, and he was doing all kinds of moves, code reds and springboard stunners, and every single week on Raw he was having unbelievable matches in his United States Championship Open Challenge, whether it was matches with Rusev or with Cody Rhodes, then Stardust, or Cesaro, or Kevin Owens, or Sami Zayn. He was having these unbelievable matches, and he was just brilliant. And in the years that followed, when he came back as a part-time performer, he would openly say, like when he faced Austin Theory at WrestleMania 37, or when he faced Solo Sikoa in matches, or when he came back for that extended run during the actors' strike in 2023, he'd openly say, he'd be like, look, I don't think I can work the way I used to work. I can't do those 20-plus minute spectacles. I just don't have that gas left in the tank. I don't have it. I don't have it anymore. So that's why I've got to do these, shorter matches, because I just can't do it as like I used to. And what we have found out in these last 2 PLE matches against Cody at SummerSlam, which was a 5-star match, and tonight against Logan Paul, which for me is a 5-star match, is he can still go. And you know what? He doesn't have to. He really doesn't have to. And I'm so glad they aborted the heel Cena stuff, because let's face it, let's call a spade here. Paul Levesque and Triple H, the creative team, needs to be called out for it. The Rock, Travis Scott, they very nearly fucked up John Cena's retirement year. Let's call it straight. They absolutely botched the shit out of it. They had an iconic moment. Cena turned heel at Elimination Chamber, and we thought we would get NWO 2025 with Cena, Rock, Travis Scott, and that could have worked. But egos got in the way. The Rock decided he didn't want to show up, and Travis Scott fell out with WWE. And what it led to was some of the worst creative that John Cena could have got in his final year. That's what it led to. It led to the Travis Scott run-in at WrestleMania, which was the shit. It led to John Cena trying to make something work. It led to creative scratching of heads of, let's just try and figure something out. Let's figure out on the way. And they couldn't. And they had to abort. They aborted just before SummerSlam. Can't do this. They can't do this. Turn babyface. And we got Super Cena back. And thank God we got Super Cena back. Because what it does mean, I think Cena's got 8 dates left of his WWE retirement tour, is we've got in the last 2 matches, for me, the 2 best matches of John Cena's retirement run so far. Cody and Logan Paul. And you know what? Huge credit to Logan Paul. Whether you like him or not, and there's a lot not to like there. But what you can say is the guy is a natural. I know that people, wrestlers then get a bit funny with this because they'll say, yeah, but the matches are choreographed and he gets a lot of time to prepare and a lot of time to rehearse. You've still got to go out there and do it. You still got to go out there and deliver. And he has multiple times. And he's got some great dance partners in Cena or Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. Don't get me wrong, he has had some very, very, very good dance partners in there, and they can help him and guide him and do the heavy lifting. But he also has to deliver, and he does deliver, and he gets it. He's a natural. He's got the look. What's he, 6'3", 6'4", something like that? Unbelievable physique. He can talk. He gets heat. And I know the whole thing is he's an outsider, but he's really, really not. He delivers. He can work. He's a pro wrestler. He's a very good pro wrestler. He's got the whole package. He's got the look. He can talk. Getting more psychology as time goes on. I think that initially the biggest problem with him was that maybe he wanted to be a good guy. And sometimes these outsiders, they don't like getting booed. But he figured it out very quickly that actually it really doesn't matter if I'm getting booed or cheered. If they're making noise, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And he can work. He can work. I think before he calls it quits on his WWE career, Logan Paul, I think he'll be a world champion at some point. They'll do it. And they'll be justified in doing it because it will get attention, but also he's credible. Logan Paul's a credible champion in WWE because he can work. The only problem is his commitment of how often is he around. But WWE have put titles on people that are barely around in the past. Do I need to say Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, right? We've had world champions that are part-timers. That's never been an issue for WWE. My God, post, 2014, the WWE or Universal Championship was practically part-time all the time. Brock Lesnar being the Universal Championship is almost was a part-time title because not only was Brock Lesnar the Universal Champion for ages on Raw, but then when Roman won it, obviously he was full-time for a bit, but then he was part-time for ages as well. So I don't think you can rule it out at all. Not at all. So yeah, and then where does Cena go next? Well, he's going to face Brock at WrestlePalooza, isn't he? Wasn't confirmed tonight, no Brock Lesnar, but it's coming. It's coming. That match is happening next month. And then, of course, we went through that world title main event. Seth Rollins retains thanks to his wife, Becky Lynch, and possibly a new member of the Vision. So there you go. In terms of an overall show, like I mentioned, I was very concerned about it for at least maybe 2/3 of it or half of it. But the second half definitely delivered. You know, Rusev and Sheamus, fantastic match. John Cena, Logan Paul, brilliant match. Main event was a good match, just the crowd by that point were tired. But a show closing angle, that certainly is going to develop a lot of storylines. So there you go. That was Clash in Paris for you guys. Where do we end up at in terms of likes? 3 likes away from 50 likes. If you haven't already, click that like button. Be sure to subscribe to Wrestle News 365 with 30 subscribers away from 24,100. And a reminder, you can see it right there in the sidebar. This was the last WWE main roster PLE on Peacock. From WrestlePalooza on next month, all main roster PLEs in the United States are on ESPN. That might cost you a little bit of extra money. If you want to be like us here in the UK or internationally and have all of your WWE as part of your Netflix subscription, you can do so. All you do is need a VPN, such as NordVPN. You can scan that QR code. You can click the link in the video description. It's also pinned in the chat. And you can use our link. Go over to NordVPN. Get up to 73% off plus 3 months extra. Change your location to here in the UK or somewhere around Europe. And then you can watch WWE on Netflix as part of your Netflix subscription. On top of that, John Cena's retirement match is likely to take place on Saturday night's main event in December. Now, that's obviously going to be airing on Peacock. It's going to be airing on Peacock in the US. You might have it, you might not. Over here in the UK, we get to watch Saturday night's main events for free on YouTube. So if you've got a VPN and you change your location to here in the UK, you can watch Saturday night's main event for free. You could watch, potentially, John Cena's retirement match for free. All you have to do is get NordVPN and change your location. I think it's worth it. So there you go, guys. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. As always, we'll be back tomorrow with more news videos, countdown videos, and a watch-along. I'm going to be live tomorrow for Raw with a post-show. Raw taking place in Paris. I'm out of here. Peace.